The lights above flickered softly. The room was cold. Machines hummed in the background. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Then suddenly a pair of eyes opened. The man blinked slowly. His vision was blurry. He couldn't move much. He felt heavy, like he had been sleeping for a very long time. Tubes were connected to his arms. A strange fluid moved through them. His throat was dry. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Someone leaned over him. She wasn't human. Tall, silver blue skin. Long white hair tied back neatly. Her large eyes were glowing softly, filled with emotion. She wore a sleek uniform, something between a lab coat and armor. On her shoulder was a symbol he didn't recognize. She looked surprised to see his eyes. Open, then a soft smile touched her lips, though her voice trembled. Careful, human. You've been in a coma for over 20 years. His heart skipped a beat. 20 years? He tried to sit up, but his body refused to listen. Pain shot through his back and arms. He groaned. Don't force yourself, she said gently. Your body is still healing. We didn't think you'd ever wake up. He opened his mouth again. This time a single word came out. Where am I? The alien woman looked away, as if thinking of how to explain. Finally she spoke. You're on Station Varel 9, a medical and research center. In orbit above an old, dead planet, far, very far from Earth. Earth, the word rang in his head like an echo. Earth? He repeated. She nodded slowly. We lost contact with Earth almost 10 years ago. After the war, he whispered. He didn't remember any war. You were found floating in a broken escape pod, barely alive. We brought you here. He blinked again, struggling to understand. His mind felt like a shattered mirror, pieces missing, others sharp and painful. What's your name? She asked softly. Daniel, he said after a long pause. Daniel Holt. Daniel, she repeated. I am Supervisor Alira. I was the one in charge of your care for all these years. He stared at her. She looked serious. But there was kindness behind her strange face. Why had she stayed with him? Why care so much for a human? What happened to me? Daniel asked. We're still not sure, Alira admitted. Your pod had no logs, and your body was different. We used advanced healing methods, but something changed inside you. She tapped on a floating screen. A hologram appeared, showing Daniel's body with highlighted parts, organs, nerves. Even his eyes. You are still human, she said, but something inside you evolved. You carry alien energy now. That's why we kept you asleep. Your body needed time to adjust. It was too risky to wake you early. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. His heart was racing. Everything felt like a dream, more a nightmare. I don't remember anything, he said. That's normal, Alira replied. Your mind was damaged. Memories may come back. Or they may not. She placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. Her skin felt warm. Comforting. You're safe now. But Daniel didn't feel safe. He felt trapped. He looked around. The room was small, metallic, and very quiet. No windows, only machines. No other voices? No signs of Earth life? Are there other humans here? Alira hesitated. No, not on this station. That made something inside him ache. He didn't know why, but the idea of being the only human so far from home. It was terrifying. Why were you watching me for so long? He asked. Ira looked away again. At first it was duty, then curiosity, then, I don't know, I just couldn't leave you. You were asleep, but sometimes I thought you were listening. Like your mind was awake, waiting. Daniel frowned. Waiting for what? She didn't answer. A sharp beep came from one of the machines. Alira quickly moved to check it, her fingers moving fast across. A screen. Your vitals are changing, she said. You're adapting faster now. Adapting to what? She paused, then whispered, something is waking up inside you. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. Suddenly the door to the room slid open with a soft hiss. A tall alien male entered. He wore a dark uniform and carried a device in his hand. He's awake? The male said in surprise. Yes, Alira replied. Just now? The male's eyes locked onto Daniel. But unlike Alira, his expression was not soft. It was calculating. We must inform Central, he said coldly. Now? Then he left as quickly as he came. Daniel looked at Alira. Who was that? A watcher, she said quietly. He doesn't trust you. Why? Because you're human, and because you're not the same human we found. Daniel's pulse quickened. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know what had changed. But one thing was clear. They were afraid of him, and that was only the beginning. Daniel tried again. He pushed his legs over the side of the bed. His muscles trembled like he hadn't walked in years, which was true. Every step felt like his bones were waking up from death. Alira stayed close, not touching him, but always ready to catch him. She seemed nervous, not just for his health, but like something else was bothering her. As he walked, he noticed the walls of the room weren't like a normal medical room. They were smooth, silver blue, glowing with strange symbols. The floor was silent beneath his bare feet. There were no windows, no sound from outside. Just endless halls and locked doors. He reached the first exit. Locked. He moved to the next. Same thing, no handles. Just strange panels that didn't respond to touch. Alira, he said slowly, why are all the doors locked? She didn't answer right away. She stared at the wall. Then she whispered, It's for your protection. My protection? From what? She avoided his eyes. Some people here don't trust humans. But I'm the only one, Daniel replied. What do they think I'll do? I can barely walk. That's not what they fear, she said. They fear what's inside you. He felt a strange pulse in his chest, like energy shifting. He looked at his hands. For a brief second just. A second his veins glowed faint blue. Alira, he said, tell me the truth. This isn't just a hospital, is it? She stayed quiet. The silence told him everything. Hours passed. Daniel was taken to what she called a rehabilitation chamber. It looked more like a testing room. Machines scanned his body. He sat in a metal chair. Wires slid into his skin gently, feeding him information through his nervous system. He saw flashes, maps of stars, alien technology, data in a language he didn't know but somehow understood. His head ached, but with each test, his body got stronger. Faster, more alert. On the third day, he asked again, How big is this station? Alira answered, 3 decks, 13 corridors, 212 sealed doors. How many of them are open? Only the ones I take you through. Can I get a map? No, why not? Because this station is not just a medical base, it was once a prison. Daniel froze. A prison? She nodded. For beings too dangerous to be kept planetside, many were moved. But the place remained. Now, it watches over you. I'm not a prisoner. But Alira's silence returned. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He wandered quietly through the unlocked corridors. Every step brought new questions. Every turn led to another dead end. Cameras followed him silently. He waved at one once. No one responded. The next morning, he found something strange, a panel on the wall slightly loose. With effort, he pried it open. Inside was a small vent system, large enough for someone his size to crawl through. He looked back, made sure no one was watching, and entered. The vent was dark and smelled of metal and oil. But Daniel kept crawling. He passed rooms with green light. Voices whispered below him. He paused near one of the air holes. He heard a voice, deep and angry. The human should not be walking yet, said the male alien who visited earlier. He is too unpredictable. He must not be told everything. We follow protocol, came a second voice. The supervisor watches him closely. Alira has grown, attached. That's dangerous. She's always been soft. Daniel moved on, his heart racing. Alira was hiding something. And others were watching more than he thought. By the time he returned, Alira was waiting in his room. Her face was tight. Her eyes unreadable. You were in the vents, she said. Not a question. He didn't deny it. Why are you hiding things from me? He asked. She hesitated. Then finally said, Because we're afraid. Not of you, but of what you might remember. Memory? He asked. She nodded. There's something locked inside your mind, Daniel. Something powerful, something forbidden. And you kept me asleep for 20 years because of it? Because your mind was fighting itself. If we woke you too early, the wrong part might have taken control. Daniel stepped closer. What does that mean? She whispered. It means you might not just be Daniel Holt. You might be something else entirely. Daniel stared at her. The walls seemed to close in. The lights above flickered again. This wasn't recovery. This was containment. And now, he wanted out. Daniel stood in front of the mirror. It wasn't a normal mirror. This one was alive, made from alien tech. It scanned him as he moved, showing layers of his body beneath the skin. Nerves, bones, strange patterns of light moving inside his chest. But that wasn't what bothered him. What bothered him was the face looking back. It was his face, but not the one he remembered. His jaw was sharper. His eyes glowed faintly blue. His veins pulsed with soft light every few seconds. The human in the mirror looked enhanced. Not by choice, his hands gripped the sink. What did they do to me? The door behind him slid open. Elia stood there, silent. You've been watching me change, Daniel said, haven't you? Illyra didn't lie. Yes. He turned to face her. Why am I glowing? You've adapted. The nanotech we used to save you has fused with your cells. More than we expected. You said I was healing. This isn't healing. This is rewriting. Her eyes lowered. You were dying, Daniel. You had minutes left. Your organs were collapsing. We had no choice. We tried Earth Tech. It failed. We tried ours. Something activated inside you. Something? He repeated. Be specific. Illyra stepped forward and touched a small console on the wall. A hologram appeared. It showed a recording Daniel's escape pod floating in deep space, then being brought into the station. The hatch opened. What came out? Wasn't human. His body was covered in light. His arms and face flickered like a star. His eyes were white-hot. Then he collapsed. That was you, Illyra said. For a few minutes, you weren't Daniel Holt. Daniel sat on the floor. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a science experiment. Illyra kneeled beside him. There's more, she said. The memories you're having. Visions, they're not dreams, they're real. Daniel looked at her, confused. You were seeing things you never lived, she continued. Fights in places no human has ever been. Weapons we've only seen in ancient archives. You remember them because the thing inside you has been there. He was quiet. Why me? He finally asked. Illyra's voice grew soft. We don't. No, maybe your genetics were special. Maybe your mind was open in a way others weren't, or maybe you were chosen, he laughed bitterly. Chosen? I was floating, half dead in a pod? That doesn't sound like someone chosen. But Illyra didn't laugh. She looked serious. You weren't just found near the wreckage, she said. You were found at the center of it. Hundreds of ships, alien and human, destroyed in one place, and at the center, your pod untouched? The room grew colder. Daniel stood up slowly. He stared into the mirror again, the face looking back. Smiled, but he hadn't smiled. Later that night, Daniel sat alone in his room, hands shaking. He was afraid to sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, something pushed against his mind. A voice, deep, ancient, whispering in a language he now understood. It said his name, not Daniel Holt, but something older. Something alien. He ran to the mirror again. His eyes flashed white for a second. Something inside him stirred, something powerful, something angry. He punched the mirror. It cracked, but didn't shatter. Instead it showed something else, a reflection of him but not him. A version with black eyes, dark veins, energy rising off his skin like fire. He stumbled back. Was that his future? Or his true self? The next morning he asked Illyra a final question. Be honest, he said. Do you trust me? Illyra hesitated, then said, I trust you, but I don't trust what's inside you. And neither do they. Then why keep me alive? He asked. Because, she whispered, you might be the only thing strong enough to stop what's coming. Daniel blinked. What's coming? She didn't answer. She only looked at the mirror again and whispered, It saw something in you. Something it hasn't seen in 1,000 years. You didn't just survive the transformation, Daniel. You completed it. And deep in the station far beneath them, an ancient vault unlocked on its own for the first time in 2 decades, something had awoken, and it was calling to him. Daniel sat alone in his room, staring at his shaking hands. They was still his hands, but they didn't feel like his anymore. Something was wrong deep inside him. Something ancient, something loud. He hadn't slept. Every time he closed his eyes, images forced their way into his mind, alien worlds, metal skies, creatures of light and bone. He had never seen those things before, but somehow he knew them, he remembered them. He touched his forehead. His skin burned slightly. A strange mark, like a glowing symbol, had started to form just above his right eye. He had tried to wash it off. It wouldn't go away, and last night, he spoke a word in his sleep, a word that didn't belong to any human language, but it opened the door to his room. When Alira entered that morning, Daniel didn't even look up. "They're not dreams," he said. She stopped mid-step. "They're memories," he continued. "Aren't they?" Alira looked guilty, her lips tightened. But finally she nodded. Double quotes, yes, double quotes. Daniel stood up. "Whose memories are they?" She looked him in the eyes. "Yours," she said softly. "But not from this life." He blinked. "What does that mean?" Alira touched the wall panel. A map of the galaxy lit up. She zoomed in on an empty part of space. "There was once a species older than anything in the known galaxy," she said. "They had no name, no home planet. They lived in energy, in time. They were called echoes by those who feared them. They didn't just travel space, they became space." Daniel was silent. His heart thumped faster. "They disappeared thousands of years ago," Alira continued. "Some believed they died, others believed they went into hiding, left pieces of themselves behind." Her eyes locked onto his. "You were found in a dead zone. The same place the echoes were last seen." Daniel stepped back. "So you're saying I'm one of them?" "No," she said. "You're still human. But something from them, a memory, a spark, a code was placed inside you." "Why?" "We don't know," Alira whispered. "But whatever it is, it's waking up." That night, Daniel touched the glowing mark on his head. He whispered the word again, the one he didn't know he knew. "Jackal." The lights in his room dimmed. A blue sphere floated out of the wall. Not metal, not tech. Pure energy. It hovered before him like it was waiting. Then it shattered and light rushed into his mind. He fell to his knees. He saw stars exploding, fleets burning, voices calling him general. He stood on a throne made of black glass, giving orders to beings that bowed to him. His hands glowed with power, and when he raised them, planets cracked. It wasn't a memory from Earth. It was from something before. When he woke, hours had passed. His nose was bleeding, his muscles ached. But something else had changed. He remembered how to speak the language of the echoes, and now he could hear things around him whispering in it. The next day, the guards didn't look at him the same. Even Alira kept more distance. He noticed how she flinched when the mark on his head pulsed. Daniel walked to the central control room. The guards tried to stop him, but he said a word and the door opened itself. He walked past them, unchallenged. "Where are you going?" Alira called after him. "I need to know everything," he said. Now, inside the control room, he found a sealed archive. He raised his hand, and without touching anything, the system came to life. Videos, reports, classified logs. One file stood out. Subject, #EcoHolt status, active coding name, REMNANT. It showed his face, overlaid with alien symbols. The file read, "Subject's mind holds deep layer memories of the precursor entity. Possible vessel or hybrid. Human base body was preserved. Alien core still unstable. Observation continues under false supervision narrative. Subject must never leave Virel 9. Daniel's breath caught. False supervision. He turned to Alira, standing quietly in the doorway. "You weren't here to heal me," he said. "You were here to watch me." She lowered her head. "I wanted to help. At first, I was just following orders, but after a while, I saw you weren't a threat. You were just a man lost in someone else's nightmare." Daniel looked down at his hands again. They were glowing brighter now, stronger. "I don't know who I am anymore," he whispered. "You're both," she said. "You're the human who was Daniel Holt, and you're the memory of something the stars once feared." Daniel's jaw clenched. "Then maybe it's time?" "The stars remembered me." The station shook. Lights dimmed. Sirens blared. The air felt charged like the silence before a thunderstorm. Outside the viewing dome, space was no longer calm. They had arrived. Hundreds of ships. Black, jagged, alive, like shadows torn from a dying star. Daniel stood at the edge of the command deck, his hands still glowing faintly. The others in the room stared at the display, frozen in fear. Illyra rushed in, breathless. "They're not supposed to be here." "Not this soon?" Daniel didn't look at her. His eyes were locked on the enemy fleet. He could feel them, whispers. In his head, dark thoughts pushing through space. "They followed me," he said. Illyra turned to him. "Who are they?" Daniel answered slowly. "They're not a species. They're a warning. A punishment sent to erase what the galaxy forgot." "And why are they here now?" she asked, afraid of the answer. "Because I woke up." Deep in the enemy ships, strange forms moved. They were not made of flesh. They were machines shaped like fear. Bones twisted with steel. No mouths. Just energy cores where hearts should be. But one figure stood in the largest ship, taller than all the others. Cloaked in armor older than stars, its voice echoed across minds like thunder. "The remnant has returned. Erase the mistake." The station's crew scrambled to prepare defenses. Weapons powered up, shields activated. But fear filled the air. "These weapons won't be enough," the commander said. "Our strongest cannons barely scratched their hulls. We need to run." One of the techs said. "We can't outrun them," another replied. "They bend space like paper." Daniel stood in the middle of the chaos, calm. Then he walked toward the vault, the one that had opened by itself days ago. Illyra followed close behind. "Where are you going?" "To the place that called to me." They stepped into the vault chamber. Inside, floating in midair, was a shard of something ancient, not a weapon, not a tool, but a memory given shape. As Daniel approached, the shard pulsed with the same blue light in his veins. It whispered to him, "We remember you, General of the Burned Stars." Daniel reached out. The moment his fingers touched it, the room lit up. In fire and light, a shockwave tore through the station. Not damaging, but changing. Suddenly, Daniel's body began to shift. His scars faded, his muscles tightened. His eyes turned fully silver blue, and strange armor appeared across his chest and arms, forming like liquid. His voice deepened, echoing with more than one tone. "I remember now." He turned to Illyra. "You?" "All thought I was a sleeping human, but I was something else. Asleep inside a human." The alarm screamed louder. The enemy ships began charging weapons. Illyra's communicator buzzed. "Impact in 1 minute. We can't hold them." Daniel stepped forward. The station shook again, but this time, from his power, he raised his hand and the walls responded. Panels opened. Lights reconfigured. Systems obeyed him without commands. "Give me control of the main array," he said. "But you're not trained." "I designed it," Daniel said sharply. "Thousands of years ago. In another life." Illyra hesitated. Then nodded. Outside, the enemy fleet launched the first attack. A massive beam of red energy hit the station. The shields broke. Fire spread across the upper decks. Drones flew out to fight, but were destroyed within seconds. Daniel stepped onto the bridge. All eyes turned to him. Some stared in fear, others in awe. He said only one word. "Fire." The station's main cannon glowed with light it was never meant to hold. It launched a pulse across space, striking one of the lead enemy ships. It vanished in a flash of white. Silence. Then screams. The enemy ships turned. Shifting formation. Daniel spoke again. "They know what I am now." "And what are you?" the commander asked. Daniel looked out the window. "I am what they thought they buried." But the battle was just starting. The enemy's second wave hit hard. Explosions rocked the lower decks. Systems failed. The crew screamed for orders. Daniel didn't flinch. He raised both hands. The blue light burst from him like a wave. Suddenly the air shimmered. Broken hulls repaired themselves. Energy returned to dead weapons. The station once losing was fighting back. Alira stepped beside him, stunned. "You're healing the station." "I'm sinking with it," he replied. "It's no longer just metal, it's mine now." Then something changed. In the middle of the fleet, a new ship appeared, larger, colder, silent. Even Daniel paused. "That one wasn't part of the first memory," he said. "What is it?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "It's not coming to destroy me." "Then what?" He looked straight ahead. "It's coming to talk." Asterisk, the enemy ship didn't fire. It simply hovered. They're massive, silent, almost like it was watching. The battlefield paused. Even the other enemy vessels stopped moving. No weapons, no sound. Just stillness and space. Daniel stood at the edge of the command deck, staring at the massive ship that now hovered above the station like a god made of metal and shadow. It had no markings. No lights, no heat. Just a presence. Cold, endless, familiar. Elia walked beside him. "Why isn't it attacking?" Daniel didn't speak. He felt it reaching into him. Not with words, but with memory. A door in his mind creaked open, and then he heard it. "You are not one of them anymore." Daniel gasped. The voice wasn't external. It was inside his thoughts. Heavy, ancient, layered with thousands of tones. Male, female, machine, beast all at once. "You are the last remnant of the Echo Forge, the only spark that survived the collapse. We did not come to destroy you. We came to collect you." The room around Daniel faded. Not physically, but in his senses. He was now standing in a black void. Before him, the source of the voice. A being cloaked in darkness. It had no face. Just shifting light and swirling fragments of galaxies inside its body. "You were human once," the being said. "Now you are more. Your body is a shell. Your mind is a vessel. Your soul belongs to us." Daniel clenched his fists. "I belong to no one." The being stepped closer. "You awakened the shard. You touched the echo. You accepted the knowledge. You remember who you were before Earth even existed." Daniel felt something crack in his chest. Visions surged forward. He had built star forges, commanded legions made of light and time. He had destroyed planets with a whisper. He wasn't just Daniel Holt anymore. He was the last general of the Echo War. Back on the station, Alira watched in horror. Daniel's body stood still, eyes wide open, glowing like twin stars. The air around him bent. Lights flickered. The floor vibratd. But he wasn't moving. He wasn't breathing. "Daniel?" she whispered. His armor began to change, morphing into something more alien. Wings of light formed on his back. Symbols crawled over his skin. The mark on his forehead glowed like a miniature sun. Lir reached out, but her hand passed through a field of energy surrounding him. Then Daniel spoke. Not in a voice, but through every wall and speaker in the station. "I have remembered everything." Inside the mindscape, Daniel faced the dark being once more. "You want me to become what I was," Daniel said. "But I've lived a second life now. I've known pain, love, weakness." "That was a lie," the being replied. "A temporary story. You are not human. You are a weapon." Daniel stepped forward. "No," he said softly. "I was a weapon. But now I choose what I become." The being laughed. Space itself rippled. "Then prove it," it challenged. "Reject the power. Step away from the shard. Let yourself die as a human." Daniel hesitated. Could he give up this power? This knowledge? He wanted to be Daniel Holt. But he remembered being something greater. Then Alira's voice echoed in his memory. "You were just a man, lost in someone else's nightmare?" Back in the station, Daniel suddenly moved. He opened his hand and crushed the glowing shard embedded in his palm. A burst of light filled the chamber. The ancient connection shattered. The enemy ship trembled. Its hull cracked like glass under pressure. The voice in Daniel's head screamed, "You have denied the echo." Daniel floated into the air. No machines, no tech. Just raw power. "I didn't deny it," he said calmly. "I mastered it." Energy burst from his body like a star gone nova. Every system on the station activated. Weapons fired in sync with his thoughts. Shields wrapped the crew like armor. He raised a hand and the lead enemy ship bent inwards. Folding under invisible pressure, Daniel didn't scream. He didn't roar. He was silent, focused, controlled. Lia watched, tears in her eyes. This wasn't the man she first met on a medical bed. This wasn't a patient. This was a force of nature wrapped in human skin, and yet when he looked back at her, she saw Daniel. In his eyes, he had not lost himself. He had rebuilt himself. The enemy ship exploded into white dust. The others began to retreat. Daniel floated back to the floor. Energy fading, armor dissolving. He collapsed. Lia caught him. You came back, she whispered. He smiled weakly. Told you, I'm still human. She held him tightly, but she knew the truth. He was no longer just human. He was reborn as something the galaxy would never forget. The fires had stopped. The sirens were silent now. In the heart of Station Virel 9, the crew stood frozen in disbelief. The alien invaders were gone. The sky, once filled with black warships, now held only stardust and echoes, and Daniel held half human. Half something else lay unconscious in Alira's arms, but even in sleep, his body shimmered with quiet power. He wasn't dying, he was resting. For the first time in 20 years, on his own terms, hours passed. Alira stayed by his side, refusing to leave the recovery chamber. She watched the monitors, listened to his breathing. He was calm now, peaceful, until his eyes opened slowly. Softly, like someone waking from a long, warm dream. Alira, he whispered. She smiled, tears forming. You're awake. His gaze drifted up to the ceiling. Feels different this time. She nodded. Because you're free now. Daniel sat up slowly. He could feel it. The connection to the shard was gone. The alien voices silent. His body still strong, still glowing, but under his control. No more whispers. No more visions. Just him, Alira, he said, voice low. I need the truth. She didn't pretend to misunderstand, he continued. Why was I asleep for 20 years? I want to know everything. No more half answers. Alira stood and tapped the console. A file unlocked, a hidden one. A memory recording. She pressed play. The screen lit up. It showed a meeting 20 years ago. A younger Daniel sat across a panel of alien leaders. He looked determined, tired, and afraid. A voice said, The entity is waking inside you, Mr. Holt. If we don't act, it could consume everything. Daniel responded, There must be another way. I don't want to become a weapon. There is a way, Alira's younger self said. We can put you into stasis. Let the mind rest. Let the entity forget. And if it doesn't, then we trust you to make the right choice if you ever wake up. Then came his last words before entering the pod. If I forget who I am, help me remember. The recording ended. Daniel sat in silence. You volunteered, Alira said. You knew the risk. You were the only one strong enough to hold the echo inside you. But you didn't want that power to decide who you'd become. You let me sleep, Daniel whispered. To protect everyone, even me, she nodded, and I watched over you. Not as a scientist, but as a promise keeper, Daniel smiled just a little. I must have trusted you for a reason, she laughed softly. You were stubborn back then, too. Later, Daniel stood by the observation window, watching the stars. So quiet now. So peaceful. Alira joined him. The galaxy thinks the echo thread is gone, she said. But it's not, Daniel replied. It's still out there, waiting for another door to open. She looked at him. So what now? You're the last of their kind. He turned to her, eyes still glowing faintly. Then I'll be the last line too, she tilted her head. Eh? Guardian? A choice, he said. They wanted a weapon. I chose to become a wall. The next day, the station council offered Daniel command of the defense grid. He refused. Instead, he asked for a ship. Small, fast, unarmed. What will you do? They asked. Travel, he said. Watch the edges of space. Listen for forgotten voices. They warned him it was dangerous. He just smiled. I've been asleep long enough. As Daniel prepared to leave, Alira met him at the airlock. You sure you want to go alone? she asked. He looked into her eyes. I'm not the only one who changed. She blushed slightly. I'll keep the station safe. Someone has to look after the new humans we rescued, he nodded. Then we both have our missions. Illyria touched his chest right where the echo shard had once pulsed. You'll feel lost again, she said. I know, he replied, but I'll find myself again and again, as many times as it takes. The hatch closed. The engines lit. And the human who once slept for 20 years disappeared into the stars reborn, not as a weapon, not as a god, but as a protector of both humanity and what came before.